Oh my God. I'm not ready yet.
Too late. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is our uh, ninth episode in our second season for How to Thrive as a Human in an AI World. I am Stephanie Barnes, joined by,
Simo Routarinne and
Melanie Adams.
yeah, today we are joined by Melanie to share her thoughts and perspective on things on our theme, how to thrive as a human in an AI world. Melanie, why don't I let you introduce yourself to our studio audience or our online audience?
Absolutely. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invite and the opportunity. So, hello, everybody. My name is Melanie Adams. I am a true and true KMer. Absolutely love the world of KM, mainly from the part where it sets people up for success. I'm a very human centered KMer. And I do work in the pharma industry. So it's an interesting dynamic being very human centric in such a technical, scientific, and engineering environment. It's a lot of fun. I love what I do. I love the people that I meet while I get to do it. And it's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to hearing your perspective. And why don't we start from there? What are you observing in the pharma industry around AI and working with engineers and scientists? You know, I hear or I've heard for a couple of years or 3 years maybe people saying that they think AI makes them stupid. Are you seeing any of that? What's your perspective on that?
So it's really interesting. There's a lot of layers to it. Inside the any technical industry, I'd say, but obviously my focus is pharma. You have different functional areas that are responsible for different aspects of what we do, and different ones are adapting the use of AI at different phases in different ways with different comfort zones, shall we say? But there's always kind of that air of caution and that kind of question about trust in every facet of the use of AI being brought into the working day, in my experience in the technical industry. Because, when AI came out first, there was a lot of stories about it hallucinating,
Yeah.
not telling you the truth. But then we learned, well, it's as good as the information you give it. So when it's an internal AI, you can control the information that it's searching to give you your answers.
Yeah.
But for me, there's a little bit of fear around how do you trust the answer that it gives you, and then I think that I feel stupid piece probably comes from um, AI. It's speeding things up. Everybody and everything is trying to move at the speed of light, and I
Yeah.
think that space for that human critical thought is being made smaller and smaller. And I think maybe that's where the different vibes could be coming from, that it's like, well, I need my time to process all of this, to go into my memory recall and remember that I experienced this 5 or 6 years ago. I think, those kind of things, you need a bit of room and space for that. But that we're not finding that lovely balance of where AI and human come together, and there is space for the human to do what they're best at and AI to do what it is best at. So I think we still have to find that sweet spot, and I don't believe we have found it yet. And
Yeah.
that would be my theory.
I agree with you. I don't think we found it yet either. There's so much rush, so much pressure put on us to do it faster and not to take that breath and go, okay, so AI has given me this output. Is it really logical? Are the references that and it's gotten better at not hallucinating those kinds of references and things, but it still does. I can still, have something, an output from it, and with a reference that doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really important to check those. But we've I think there's two things that have happened or that happen. A, we tend to trust technology um, because we think it's logical and there's a process to it, there's an algorithm, and so we should trust it. Um, but the algorithms with AI are so enormous and complex that it's a bit of a black box. So
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't be trusting it as much as we are. Um, so the trust is yeah, a theme that keeps coming up.
And also there's so much silent knowledge. There's
Mm.
there's so much things that we humans actually fail to communicate, even with each others. We are, developing a professional set of skills and set of kind of like self-evident things that we take for granted, and we're not sharing those, and that's not in the database of an AI.
Hmm.
We can't even share it to another human being, but that's a base for our critical thinking in our professional contexts.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's really hard to actually ever reach that level with AI, because how can we feed the AI the data we are not even sharing to our workmates?
Yeah, there's no environment set up where that, other than training. I think some training aspects in the technical world anyway, it's called on the job training, where
Oh
you
yeah,
get to spend time with the other expert and they talk to you. And when
Yeah.
something goes wrong, they go, "Oh, don't worry, I've had that happen to me too." And there's
yeah.
that empathy and that beautiful conversation where that experience and tacit knowledge gets shared verbally.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is it only gets shared during the training. And when you're doing the task 6 months later, you're like, "Oh, what did Stephanie say to do? I don't remember." And it's not written down anywhere. And yeah, so AI doesn't have that. And I think the other thing, and we were talking about it earlier, is the AI doesn't have intuition and the human ability to kind of
and
read the room and
and
go,
what
"Oh,
and what you said earlier, Melanie, like before we started, that AI cannot predict the future. It's all like past based knowledge,
yes,
and of course we can't predict the future,
no."
but we have our gut feelings, and we have our you know embodied knowledge, and we have stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's the reason the expression "I told you so" exists.
Yeah.
I've heard it a lot in my life, predominantly from my mother. "I told you so," and you're like, "Oh, whatever." Yeah,
And
but
then
it's
come
true.
Colleen. There's a nice comment from Colleen coming in. And if you have anything to ask from Melanie or any of us, please do so in the chat,
Yeah.
Colleen.
Yeah.
Nice to have you with us.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Colleen. So yeah, and it is what pick up on the end of Colleen's comment there. It's fast. She says it's fascinating the similarity thread or similar threads across the industries, and there are. I think that's very true. There are some very similar concerns across industries,
Mhm.
and yet people get all tied up in the I'm in pharma, I'm in law, I'm in manufacturing, I'm in whatever segment. And it's special. No, it's not.
No.
Sorry to burst your bubble. It's not.
I do second that. I've worked for 30 years in different, across industries, from social workers to high executives, from Pixar, Disney, to Marina Bay Sands, or International Red Cross, or lawyers, policemen, priests, training all of them. And I would say that there's surprisingly a lot of universal stuff happening when people communicate and when they behave in a community. We are almost the same,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my experience too. I worked across industries, and even depending on how you travel, you see that, you learn that when you travel too, going to different countries, and realizing that people are pretty much the same. The grocery store might be organized a little bit differently, as I found when I moved to Berlin, but everything is still there someplace. It's just a matter of figuring out how it's organized. So
And there are some cultural stuff, some ways of behaving are more strictly regulated in
Sure.
some cultures than others, but that's about it.
Yeah. At the end, we're all human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying.
We all know, like all human creatures know when somebody doesn't like their idea.
Yes.
They they know across cultures when somebody's actually really really liking their ideas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, the basic stuff of communication is universal. It's
Yeah. Mainly body language, which, you
yeah.
know, is very important. I
and
think.
that's actually if you think of like in a system, the older I get, the more systemic I get. It's like I don't believe in individual talent anymore, for example,
Okay.
so much than a talented team that actually there's enough psychological safety for everyone to step over their barriers and learn more and learn together and also process information together as a team, not as
Be
a
uncomfortable together.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that's where the real ice gets broken, when your first person shows a bit of vulnerability. I recently became a manager of a team and I love my team. I'm very lucky. But how I broke the ice was I shared a bit of vulnerability
Yes,
straight out the gate. And
that's
I think it helped, you know, for sure. You know.
Yeah.
it does. And how sad it is that in most human cultures, vulnerability is not automatically
No.
kind of like the stuff, you know, it's not what people like to do because we live in a competitive and individual, almost like egocentric cultures
Mhm.
that we are so used to protect, you know, ourselves and you know, everybody manages their emotions and blah blah blah. And I love to hear that, Melanie. I love to hear that. It's so valuable to share that you think as a team leader that you connected with your team so well because of that.
I do, because it
Yeah.
creates that trust. And then this is where, like, I suppose, to bring it back to AI, this is where that connection isn't happening, you know, because trust is one of the first things where a human goes, yeah, I can trust this, I feel safe around it. And then they lean into it. And I think that the barrier to leaning into AI, which personally I actually benefited greatly from AI, I'm an advocate for it, but I'm also a massive advocate for humans. And if I had to choose between the two, I would choose humans every step of the way. I'd rather go back to the pen and paper and the coloring books and get the creative side of a human out there, because we can do extraordinary things when we're in the right environment. But what I've always struggled with, there's little things that I'm using it for. Um, you know, this probably sounds mad being in the environment that I'm in, but I use it to teach me how to speak to other levels of the organization. This is not a skill I possess. I am brutal at conversing at the, you know, in senior executives. You know, if I'm asked to come to a meeting and deliver, you know, something about something at that meeting, I immediately die a bit inside because I'm too authentic. I don't know how to put on that, you know, oh, I'm an executive persona, because it just
Don't
don't
do that
happen.
ever. Don't.
Don't. There's that as
Don't
well.
do that. Don't even, you know, don't even dream doing that because it's like that's the wrong move.
It can be. It depends on the environment you're in.
Well,
But
yeah, it could be cultural. It could be
yeah,
there could be cultural pressure of doing that, but still, I have to say it's a stupid move to behave differently, to kind of like to play a role of a leader or to to for example, if you are an expert, it's the same thing. It's not anymore that you have to try to behave in a convincing way.
oh, I would disagree with that. I think you
Um,
could still be your authentic self.
Authentic
But
is different.
no, authentic is different. But just because I'm going to an executive leadership team and I'm delivering my content in a certain way that they need to hear it, like they need to hear it in, I might be able to talk to another team for 30 minutes. I might only get a 5-minute time slot with them.
Yeah.
So I have to transform my whole message
Yeah.
and deliver it in a certain way that I
Well, I
bang it out
didn't.
in 5
Yeah.
minutes and I get what I want in that 5
Yeah.
minutes.
I
And
have
that's where
to.
I suck.
I have to admit. I have to admit that that's a very strong cultural kind of like preference.
Probably, yeah.
For
But that's
that.
the
And
environment I'm
still,
in.
I'm
And I,
just saying, it's being an idealistic person. That's not the best
I
way.
agree with you as well. As another idealist, I want the world to just accept me as I am and, you know, come in any door and feel that I am automatically fit in. But I have learned through time that that's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually use AI. I go into AI and I have my presentation built and I'm like, okay, AI, here's my presentation.
Yeah.
I
This
have
is
to do
my
this in
audience.
5 minutes to
This is
this
my
level of
audience.
the
Yeah.
organization. Help me nail it. And in fairness, AI has made me so much slicker at my game.
Yeah.
That's the right way to use it. Colleen is on fire. Thank you, Colleen, for sharing the Japanese term mendomi. Mendomi. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's beautiful. And yeah, fear or caring, fear or love. That's the question. And I do agree, like, deeply. And it's a two-way street. Like we can, for example, reducing competition, just trying to spot what's competition and what's not, and trying to, as a team, to be less competitive. It builds more, it reduces fear and tension, just, you know, reducing the competition. So it's kind of a two-way street.
Yeah.
Fear is an interesting. I think in some cases people think fear is a motivator, but it's really not.
Not for me.
Yeah, because that's very dysfunctional thinking. I've met people like that think, you know, those are command and control people. Those are, you know, sticks rather than carrots people. And
well, if you think of like manual labor in factories a couple of centuries, you know, in the history, in those environments, that could work, because it's not, you know, it's not expert work, it's not, you know, you don't need much, you know, brain work. But what fear does to our brain, it actually stops higher thinking. It blocks cortex, you know, the connections to the higher level thinking. So
yeah, I think as well, fear stops, you know, the culture of sharing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You start hiding everything, and
also fear stops sharing mistakes,
yeah,
like being
something
candid
could be very wrong, and you'll say nothing because you're afraid to say it, and that's not a good space for any team, workforce, government.
Well, it doesn't
culture.
make an organization that survives these times. No.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And of course, we are all afraid sometimes, and we are, you know, but we can do so much in keeping each other's safe by, for example, not criticizing all the time the ideas the other people present, being supportive, being, you know, having a coaching attitude towards your team members. And there are lots of evident things that you can do to actually reduce fear and build up trust.
Well, asking questions to understand rather than judge.
Agree or judge.
So
we all know that. And my question is that why there is still so many organizations that are led with fear?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because there's a lot of people in leadership positions that don't have the confidence and the confidence, the self knowledge to behave in a different way.
And also, we live in a competitive culture.
We do,
which is not based on trust.
No,
it's the culture in itself. It's based on mistrust and kind of like we are not inclined to help each other to cross the finishing line first.
Yeah.
we want to go there ourselves first.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's the base of it. Like, why help each other's? Because then I might not be the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, in Dublin, there were a couple of presentations from the KM for development people, and KM people working in those sectors, in the development sector, and it's such a different approach to knowledge and to knowledge sharing, and less emphasis on the competition and more on the sharing, and,
Yeah.
and meeting a shared goal. And this is what I've found when I've worked with NGOs. There's no profit motive. So the motive is building capacity for organic farming or good practices in farming, or whatever the purpose of the NGO is. And when you take that profit motive away, it changes the culture, it changes the outcomes and the approach, to knowledge sharing, certainly in thriving or not thriving. So
Yeah.
I think some of the limitation to knowledge sharing is that sometimes a human is such a deep expert, they assume everyone else knows what they know.
yeah,
Like, I think assumptions and biases are another barrier that we need to work through, where somebody's like, well, sure, I know it, why doesn't everybody else know it? You kind of almost forget. I always love to use the analogy of driving the car. Sometimes you don't remember your trip to work, especially if you're doing it 5 days a week for however many years. You just land into the car park and you're like, oh, I'm here now. And I couldn't tell you much about my journey because I was in such auto drive.
yeah,
And then but then you go to teach your niece, nephew, or a child how to drive, and you forget all the little things, like, putting your foot on the brake
yeah,
and then pressing the ignition button to start the car, and they're sitting in the driver's seat going, but I can't start the car. It's like, because you forgot that tiny detail, because you just do it automatically and you assume the other know and they didn't know. And so it's just I really enjoyed two of the keynote speakers in Dublin, actually. One was Sean, and he was teaching us at the start about how to learn at a conference. And one thing that stuck with me from his statement was, we learn through struggle. And that's absolutely right. The most learning that has stuck with me is my epic failures. And then the other one was a finale, one of the finale speakers, and she talked about unlearning. And she's the unlearning lady. You can look her up, and she was just fantastic as well. But she was very much around your assumptions and your biases, and you have to unlearn what you think you know to develop and grow. And I'm going to use both those things to try and get people to think about that. Don't assume so much. Go ask the question and make sure you're right in your assumptions.
yeah.
And I love the list, like less assumptions, less biases, and unlearning stuff. And also the one thing that I'm like working with a lot, most of my work is about like checking the gap between stories and reality.
Yeah.
Like the stories we like to tell about ourselves or our teams, our organizations, and what's actually happening.
Yes.
Kind of like the culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah, because it's like there are so many. For example, listening. If I ask any living human being working in an organization that, do you think listening is important in your organization, or is it even a value? Everybody says yes, it is. And the next question is that, have you ever experienced in your work life that you are not actually listening to what other people are saying because you're planning what to say next yourself? And everybody is raising their hands. Yeah, every day. So, that simple question is kind of like showing the gap. Like, okay, if listening is so important, so how could we stop planning our next move and just be there for others in a meeting? We have to rehearse that to be able to do that.
You got to practice.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Colleen's comment about the future will be led by learners, not knowers.
Yeah, I like that.
In its simplicity, I think that could be one of the guidelines for the new role of humans in a value creation chain. Because it's AI is taking a big load of knowledge
Yeah.
and the you know
Yeah, it's a this is something I've noticed over the 4 years that AI has been around, the shift from knowing to asking the right questions.
Yes.
You know, the
yeah
questions have become so much more important. I mean, they were always important, but it's become even more so now. I think it's asking the right questions and not just asking them, but thinking to ask them.
Yeah.
The critical thinking part of it. So,
critical thinking, yes, and critical reading, critical kind of like reading the stuff AI is offering us, and
Yeah.
it mostly looks good and sounds good and kind of like smells good, but sometimes it's empty and or even misleading.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of it's kind of word salad. I call it word
Yeah.
salad.
Surface level stuff. I like word salad though. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. The words all are English, if we're asking in English. But when you stop and go, no, that's not quite right. That's not actually what I meant or how things happen. This is where the critical thinking comes in. This is where the taking the pause and not getting caught up in the, I have to have this done now, but taking that space back, and going, okay, let me just think about this for a minute.
I just wish that AI being so fast would give us the time to pause and to but the cynic in me says that it's not going to happen. It's just making us pause less. And
I want the humans and the AI to go faster, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not an expert at all, so I couldn't even tell you where to start. But I think that's the sad part about where this could potentially go if the right people don't start leading this and recognizing that an AI strategy has to have the human factors integrated into it, and that balance has to be there. If the AI strategy is only about AI, and if it's only talking about what document repositories and knowledge bases our AI can rake and stuff like that, and where we put our AI, bots so that people can access them at the point of use and things like that. And you haven't once said, have I trained my humans in the right type of prompt? Have I trained my humans in the way to test this, validate this, check this, so that they're confident using it and they trust themselves to use it well? Then I think that's a massive miss. And I think that's where the fear factor comes from. It's people not being set up for success to use AI well. Like, I had a few learnings. I'm not an expert, so disclaimer all the way. I could be talking incorrectly, but I heard once that AI tells you what it thinks you want to hear. So I started putting in my prompt, don't make stuff up. And little things like that. And I experimented with it and played with it and seen what types of prompts get me the stuff that I trust more and believe in more and sound more like me. But if I had time to do that and I put in time to do that, there are people that don't have the time to do that depending on their role.
Yeah.
And that don't want to put in the time to do that. So how can we set everybody up for success? Because I don't think any human should be left behind. And there's a lot of talk about careers and people without certain educations being left behind. And I think the fact that that's even coming up in conversation is disappointing. I think we need to do something about that. If we've identified a risk or a gap, then we say, right, how do we wrap something around those humans so that they're not left behind and they're brought on this journey with us?
Yeah. There's a real risk about leaving young people behind, because we're kind of pulling up the bottom rungs on the ladder and giving those jobs to AI instead of to young people who are, in school or coming out of school. Um, yeah, it's an issue. We need to be more.
Address it. Like, how are those young people going to gain that experience of like that Sean Malley's presentation on learning from a conference? You learn through the struggle, but
Yeah.
if they don't get their first job and make those mistakes we all made in our first job, then how do they gain that competence, that confidence, and that ability to integrate into the workforce? Just to assume that they'll come out of college, university, school, whatever it is that they're doing, with a level of competence that they can jump into a senior role or an engineering role without any of those initial opening intern type roles.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. And I think about my undergrad was in accounting and co-op, so I alternated work and school terms. So I was doing some learning on the jobs type stuff. But then I worked for 5 years before I went back and did the MBA, and so I was still in my 20s when I started the MBA. But the difference, the maturity level, and the experience that I gained in that 5 years of working, continuous working, not alternating with school terms, was, it was night and day compared to the people that had come straight from an undergrad into the MBA program. And they're also theoretical and, oh, well, the textbook says that. I'm like, yeah, that's not how life works.
It's like expectation versus reality.
So that getting that experience, is critical. So and co-op programs are great, and a lot of universities have them now, much more than when I did mine many years ago. But there's nothing like having an entry-level job and having to do all of that stuff that you have to do in an entry-level job, and learning and making mistakes and figuring things out. So that, you can't just jump to the next level and expect to be able to perform. So the AI is a problem, and I'm seeing some companies certainly back away from that and maintain their internship programs and their entry-level jobs because they've recognized the problem with pulling up the last rung on the ladder. But not everybody's getting that. The other thing I keep seeing too is announcements from or articles about companies rehiring or hiring people that they've laid off because of AI, because AI is not performing. So I think I see at least one of those a week. About some industry or some company that had laid off a bunch of people and now are having to hire for those positions again because the AI is not performed, or the cost of AI is more than the cost of the people, the salaries for the people. So it's interesting. I think we live in interesting times.
Yeah.
I don't know how are you seeing in your organization or in the pharma industry in general, Melanie, do you feel like humans are thriving? Are they putting in place to make sure the humans stay human?
Yes, I do, especially while I'm around. I'm going to make sure of it. But other than that, we still have internship programs, graduate programs. We absolutely see the value in our young people coming in with the newer education. To be honest, I don't know if I could do a science degree again today versus when I did it in 2004. Things are very different now. And the standard is phenomenal. And I think that in my industry anyway, what I've seen is people recognize that new standards, that fresh thinking, the new questions that will be asked by somebody with different insights. It can't be replaced. The innovation that new people would bring, and they are, I think that, well, I'm actually responsible for succession planning in my organization. I'm not HR, but succession planning has come into what I do because of knowledge transfer. And I think if we don't keep those young people coming in with their newer experience, you won't have much of a succession plan. And I think that will mean that you will lose your experts, because they won't have anybody, they're the experts. There's no expert coming up behind them.
Yeah.
So they don't see opportunities for them to grow somewhere else. And they're going to go, right, I'm going to go to an organization that will fulfill me and challenge me. So I really think that if an organization is thinking that they don't need the less experienced people to grow into the roles of the experienced people, so the experienced people can grow into other roles, you're really missing a trick. You should really think about that, because succession and development is why a human stays in a role.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. We don't want to stay in a role that's where we can't keep learning and keep developing.
No. And it some people need a stagnant period in their lives. Maybe they have small kids. Maybe they're caring for somebody at home and they just don't need work to be a challenge. They just need to come in and do their thing and go home. And that's a period of everybody's life at some stage. But then there's a period of everyone's life where they're like, right, I'm bored. I want a challenge. I want something new. Am I even valued? I've been here 10 years. People just assume I'm going to stick around and I'm not getting the recognition I used to get. Should I move on? And then, so I'm not speaking for every human when I say that, but I'm speaking for a hell of a lot of them when I say that. So I think that should be something that organizations should consider.
Yeah.
It's kind of
humans. And it's also systemic. Yeah, I do get that. I think that's so beautifully said, that people have like different times and cycles in their lives and different needs. Sure. And also it's systemic, like in a certain culture, a work culture, you need to get your safety from staying safe, not taking risks, not learning new stuff, because you need that safety from that. So to be able to let go of that walking stick, that I don't want anything to change because I need that safety of, the stagnant period or whatever. You need to have safety from another source.
Yes.
Yeah.
To replace that, so you can let go of the other source of safety. And that's what I work with in organizations, because psychological safety, which is social based, is so fast, and you can help each others with that. And that's the source of the other source of safety that helps people to actually to learn more, to take more risks, to unlearn things and to let go of those old stuff, the old things that keep them in their routines. Their routines are not breaking because I'm holding on to stuff. And that's interesting to me. It's like, I think future organizations should think very carefully what are the sources of safety?
Yeah.
And what are fast sources, and what are slow sources, and what are internal and what are external, what are social based? Because it's like we need to feel safe, yes. But the sources can be replaceable.
Well, safety isn't necessarily things not changing.
No.
Right.
Necessarily. No.
It's safe to fail, right? So this is, it's okay to make a mistake, to ask a question,
yes,
to propose doing something differently. That's safety too. So
I agree. Yeah, as a dyslexic in the workforce, I tend to see things very differently, and there have been working environments that I've been in where I've not expressed my different perspective because I haven't felt safe to do so. Exactly. And then there's other environments where I lay it all on the table because it might be weird, but it could be wonderful. So let's give it a go. And, it takes a lot though for me to feel comfortable doing that. So
lay out your weird.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But I think everybody should do that. Every organization should be like that.
Yeah, and when I see others doing it, I'm the first person to go, oh, well done. I love it but I recognize the bravery it takes to do that. And I love when I'm in an environment where everyone feels safe, just going, this might not be what anyone else was thinking, but bleh.
Well,
And it's like, you know,
I think the ultimate test of if is your workplace psychologically safe. Do you want to know the ultimate test?
oh, go on.
It's very simple. So in your organization, how would people respond if you said in the beginning of a meeting that could we have a meeting where we speak with funny voices?
Oh my God.
And what's the response? Because if the response is that, hey, come on, Simon, grow up. This is a workplace. That's not the psychologically safe reaction.
No,
But
yeah.
psychologically safe reaction would be, oh yeah, let's do that.
Get a helium balloon.
That's a really, really good test.
It is a good test. It definitely would you'd certainly know the dynamic you're working in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, and that makes me think of my clown nose too, right? So, there certainly have been situations where I didn't feel safe to put it on because of the organization. And I have put it on in front of hundreds of people, but there have been people, organizations that I was like, yeah, I don't feel safe doing this. And I know I should, and it's everything that I talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't have enough bravery or courage to do it in front of this audience because
and that's that intuition, that human factor that you can't replace. Because you read the room, your vibes told you what was going on, and you didn't do it. Where there's a risk that if we lean too much into not having our humans around, that ability to read the room will go. And I think it's very important in all cultures to be able to read.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do think so too.
Yeah.
And that, if you think of like thriving as a human in an AI world, as our headline says, I think we are now, like, even with or without AI, these things are what makes us, smile and laugh and feel safe and feel like human beings. And we are, so connected. These moments, and they can happen in, any organization, any work day, to anyone. And we all have had those experiences with good workmates that it's so much fun doing the work and, being goofy about it and still doing good work.
For sure. It has nothing to do with AI. I think about workplaces. Well, I mentioned my co-op terms and things in university. Like, there were workplaces there that were great to work with because of the camaraderie among the staff, and there were workplaces that were not a lot of fun. So, and that was certainly the days almost before the internet. So nothing to do with AI. It's just as the humanity of it.
I would love to see a research soon about like two different organizations adopting AI. One of those where there's lots of playfulness and trust, and one organization that's very, very formal.
That would be cool.
How do they actually use AI? Do they use it differently? I would bet so.
Oh, so would I.
Yes. And how much of an asset has AI become for each of them as well?
So if you're a researcher watching this is we would like to
let us know.
We'd be glad to help.
No, that would be very cool, because the other thing is, people assume, maybe cultures in organizations assume, that the humans I've had here for 15, 20 years, they're just going to stick around. Sure, why wouldn't they? And don't make that mistake, because I don't know if that will be the case. And then your subject matter expertise is going to walk out the door, and that is priceless and irreplaceable, especially if you haven't got a good succession plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I've worked with an expert organization. I'm not even mentioning the field they are working in, but all the greatest experts left the company because of bad leadership.
oh
Because there was no safety. There was only like they were led with fear.
Yeah.
And it was very competitive, and they lost all their best people
yeah,
in a couple of years. And the bad leader is still there.
right.
Yeah, because
I mean-
he has the courage to do anything about him.
Or
Mm.
the self-awareness, that person maybe doesn't have the self-awareness to go, why is everybody leaving?
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
the
yeah,
common
maybe I
denominator?
wouldn't ever think that it has anything to do with him.
Oh no.
No.
Oh, interesting, your choice of like you assumed it was a he because it was not.
I did too. Oops.
I have their experience.
So she, her person.
Yeah, and that's not fair because I've actually had managers that were women that were absolutely horrendous managers. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I'd have to sit down and count on both sides, but I suspect that it's kind of equal numbers on both sides.
All humans,
yeah.
all capable of fear and love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
But I think I'm so regretting to say this, that the time is almost up that we have. And it was, Melanie, I'm so happy you joined us. It has been so much fun having you.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast as well. I'll come back anytime you invite me.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah,
Because
I'll see you all next week.
I'll send you the link. So, yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melly, for joining us. And thank you, everybody in the studio audience for joining us. And yeah, we're glad to have you here. And we'll look forward to seeing you back next week for episode 10. Counting down. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, about 4 episodes left for this season. So yeah, I hope you'll join us and have a great week until then. Bye.
See you, everyone.